Listen, I'm a young dude, that's no secret, but as somebody who's my age and who's still trying to learn and navigate this world of politics, something I look for in politicians and pundits is a guiding set of principles, is consistency and coherence in what they believe. And I just don't see that at all throughout the MAGA party right now, and this is a top-down problem that stems from Donald Trump flip-flopping on everything, every single week, every single speech he gives. He flip-flops. But today, I'd like to highlight some of these major inconsistencies that I see, not only in Donald Trump, who will say drill, baby, drill all the time, despite us drilling more than we ever have in American history, which tells me those are just words. He just spews out words that he thinks sound good without actually internalizing what they mean. Another glaring example of this is MAGA pundit Charlie Kirk, who has been tweeting for the past 2 to 3 years, ban TikTok. Ban TikTok. Ban TikTok. TikTok plays a massive role. Ban it. I've been listening to and observing what many different people I respect have to say about the TikTok bill. After serious thought, I have concluded that TikTok sucks and should either be banned, or if China agrees to divest, be sold to a trustworthy, non-woke company like Rumble. TikTok's algorithm spreads poison, destroys the mental well-being of young people, and turns 130 million phones into spy devices of the CCP. He also said if we want to accelerate gains, let's send more kids to trade school, encourage family formation and home buying earlier. These are conservatizing life events. Let's ban TikTok too. But after Biden finally signs this bill that doesn't say to ban TikTok outright, it gives ByteDance, which is the Chinese company that owns TikTok, 9 months to sell to an American subsidiary or just a non-Chinese subsidiary, or else we ban it. Now, Charlie Kirk has switched his tone like this. In a single day, Charlie Kirk has now switched his narrative, and I don't know how anyone can take this guy seriously. He tweeted out yesterday, Joe Biden is likely to ban TikTok, an app he doesn't like because he's owned and promoted by big tech, a massive in-kind political donation that should be investigated. I've used TikTok now for a few weeks. We are approaching 1 million followers quickly. I can't speak to the privacy issues. Charlie, you've already spoken to the privacy issues, and just because it affects you personally now does not mean we should completely get rid of this bill. This is the average conservative. I have friends who have been ardently pro-life their entire lives, but the second that they meet a girl and they have an experience with a pregnancy that they might need to terminate, they're all of a sudden saying, I'm so glad she has this choice to make. Conservatives only care when it affects them personally. He then says, I can't speak to the privacy issues, but we are now reaching millions of Gen Z voters daily. Many are turning conservative as a result. It has undeniable cultural impact. I think I can see why Biden wants this app banned. If the polling is right, it might be pushing younger voters to the right. Now, while TikTok does push young voters to the extremes, in my personal opinion, because this format where you can only have 60 seconds to 90 seconds to get these political takes out allows you to skirt around a lot of the nuance and just give these really blunt takes. But Charlie Kirk is saying that Biden is banning TikTok because it's turning young voters conservative, while completely forgetting the fact that Donald Trump was the first one to bring a TikTok ban to the table. And of course, Trump couldn't get it passed because he was just an ineffective president all around. But Charlie Kirk was totally on board, as evidenced by the tweets that we just went through. Not only was Charlie on board, but he understood the national security concerns. He understood the propaganda concerns when it comes to TikTok. But now that he can leverage it as a tool to spread his own propaganda, he doesn't seem to care. He seems to think that Biden is trying to suppress us. And this inability to build a coherent worldview is one of the many reasons why young voters are just not attracted to the MAGA movement. I mean, Donald Trump talks about building a wall and talks about border security non-stop, but when we had a perfectly good bill that was endorsed by 17,000 Border Patrol agents, Donald Trump strikes it down for political purposes. Another example of him flip-flopping. And then when I go to these rallies and ask them, okay, you want border security, I think most people can agree on that, but we had a perfectly good bill, they say, well, it wasn't Trump's bill, it wasn't the way Trump wants to do it. They clearly hadn't even read the bill, they just follow Daddy Trump around in his incoherent beliefs. But going back to TikTok, watch this clip of me on the Don Lemon Show explaining my point of view, and after the clip, I'll explain it a little bit further. Play it.
But Adam, listen, how are younger people paying attention to this, because I know that they are watching streaming, they're watching podcasts, they're watching streaming shows, and they're on social media. They're not necessarily watching the networks. We know that they're not necessarily watching cable. So how are they watching this, and what do they think about these shenanigans? Because for some people who are able to vote, Donald Trump has been in their lives as a presidential candidate or the president for half of their lives, for about 10 years, right? So what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we watched Donald Trump do a lot of this crazy stuff during our most formative years while we were in high school or while we were in college. And I think a lot of times nowadays, people will just watch their favorite TikTok or Instagram creators sort of synthesize what's going on into a 60-second clip. And I think that's kind of unfortunate because a 60-second clip kind of allows you to skirt around a lot of the real facts. But most people in my generation, despite what a lot of the polls say, don't like Donald Trump. Actually, there's a huge anti-establishment part of my generation that don't like either candidate. That's something I've been trying to combat. Like Donald and Trump are.
But isn't he sort of the anti-establishment candidate, or at least he was? Maybe he's establishment now. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, yeah, no, Donald Trump is the anti-establishment, or he tries to be, even though he's a billionaire who flies around on private jets and thinks he should be above the law, but he tries to paint himself as this anti-establishment figure. But people in my generation that are anti-establishment, they say Biden and Trump are effectively the same. They think that one issue should supersede all of these other issues, and it's unfortunate that people have. I mean, I think it's natural for every generation to have a little bit of an anti-establishment wing. I mean, we can go back to the 60s or the 70s, but now that is being amplified by things like TikTok, things like Instagram. And I don't want to go too far off track, but we have companies trying to amplify this idea. We have ByteDance trying to place their thumb on the scale of this election, trying to spread this idea that Trump and Biden are effectively the same. You might as well not vote at all. Well, and that couldn't be farther from the truth, right?
Interesting.
Parent company of TikTok, for those who don't know what ByteDance is.
Yeah, ByteDance is the owner of TikTok, the Chinese owner, right?
Correct.
Of TikTok.
And Xi Jinping would love to have influence over one of the most important elections in American history, right? Now, when it comes to my opinion on the TikTok ban, again, it's not really a ban. We're just forcing ByteDance to sell it. I think there are good reasons to do it relating to national security. And something I talk about on my channel all the time is disinformation and how pervasive disinformation is. I mean, it basically handed Donald Trump the 2016 election because we know for a fact that Russia was trying to place their thumb on the scale of that election, and it worked. They got Donald Trump elected, and I think ByteDance and the CCP and Russia and Iran, all of these countries are doing the same thing, and TikTok is a super weapon to be able to spread disinformation. So I think the strategy of making ByteDance sell it is a pretty smart one rather than just outright banning it from the App Store, which then people would be absolutely outraged. I think there's a middle ground. There's a way to do it where we don't absolutely ban TikTok, but we can maybe minimize the amount of disinformation. But the entire point of this video is that MAGA does not have a coherent worldview. I mean, their views are just like a piece of paper flying in the wind. Wherever the wind takes them, that's where they go. We've seen Donald Trump hint at not being super pro-life many times, but then he appoints these incredibly pro-life Supreme Court justices, and then when asked nowadays, he decides, oh, let's leave it up to the states, which could mean a number of things. That leaves him open to taking the most extreme positions on abortion, and that's what we're seeing actually play out on the ground in states like Arizona. So Donald Trump, again, whether it comes to the border wall, where we see Donald Trump say, close the border, and then proceed to nuke a border bill in the same day, or when it comes to abortion, where he won't even give his real stance. Even when it comes to Israel and Palestine, we saw Donald Trump at a rally getting his crowd to chant Genocide Joe, and then in that same rally, he said, we have to finish the job over there. He literally does not know what he's saying. He just spews words out if he thinks it can get him votes. My name is Mockler. If you made it this far in the video, comment a blue heart and leave a like. Most importantly, make sure you have a great day.